Hello everyone, thanks for joining. I decided I would start a couple of seconds early. I usually like to wait until the exact time, but I thought I'd be rebellious and not do something on a schedule. So thanks for coming. Today we are looking at my PHP SDK library. One of my one of my favourite libraries I've built actually. I use it to build. I believe it was the Laravel and Voya SDK. Here we go. Yeah, I use it to build the Laravel and Voya SDK. So it it just made things really super simple. It allowed me to just work on things really quickly, really easily. And evening wife, thanks for tuning in. My very loyal wife there tuning in. It just made things really easy. Hey Rian, thanks for coming. So what I'd like to do is I've currently my actions are failing due to code style, but that's something I'm going to fix anyway. I've got one issue which was created by me, which is make it more awesome. Um, oh, thanks for coming, James. Glad you could join in live. So basically, the idea of PHP SDK is that it's a framework that you can use to build your SDKs for your APIs. Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait for my birthday. Actually, I'm gonna be 33. I feel like I'm getting old. My back's starting to hurt. Well, I lost my hair. Getting a bit of grey in my beard. It's getting there. So yeah, the idea is that PHP SDK is a framework to allow you to build SDKs easily for your APIs. And the reason behind it was that I was creating SDKs a lot. I was working with lots of different third-party APIs. Either the SDKs were absolutely massive, and you know they did 100% of everything they needed, but I needed 3% of that to actually perform what I needed. So I'd be pulling down this massive clunky system to use like the smallest part of it, or they just didn't have a very good one, or they didn't have an officially supported one in PHP. So I built PHP SDK for those situations where I need to work with SDKs and build an SDK instead of having to go through all the boilerplate stuff over and over again, much like why we use web frameworks. So as the code currently stands, it has got a relatively good test suite, and what I will do is use terminal quickly, and we will go to GitHub, me, PHP SDK, and I've created a new branch called feature refactor, and I'm just going to compose a run test. There we go. So we got a nice little bit of testing going on. It's not a lot. A lot of the testing's been done under the hood, so I'll come back to my Notion bit in a moment. But if we have a look in Composer, what you'll see is requirements-wise, we've got URI Builder, HTTP Slim, and Auth Strategies, all things that I've worked on before. So what I want to do is maybe cut out some of this, simplify it a little bit, and make it a little bit nicer. So my idea here, hey Has, haven't spoken in a while, mate. We're gonna have to catch up. So the idea is that in this stream we're going to look at refactoring the PHP SDK package. We want to kind of update some of those underlying dependencies, but also at the same time, the developer experience isn't quite what I want it to be. So I want to make it a little bit more clean, allowing people to do things like this. Much like I did with Laravel Transporter, but outside of the Laravel world here. How's it going? It is going so good. I've had so much change in the last week or two. It's just been crazy. I definitely have to catch you up. PHP Storm, yes, of course I can. That is Brent Photon. There we go. Here it is. It is the PHP Photon theme by Brent. So I'll drop that in the chat for you to make the finding a link a little bit easier. So where was I? Here we go. So to achieve this, we need a client to be created really easily. So what we used to have to do was like pass in our PSR18 client for our request factory, our stream factory, our response factory, and I wasn't taking advantage of HTTP auto discovery. Hey, cheers, freak. Enjoy your stream too, mate. So I wanted to make sure that I could still follow PSR 18, but at the same time, I didn't want to have all of the manual setup of PSR 18. So that's why I built the HTTP Slim package, but it just wasn't taking advantage of the discovery phase. So I've now enabled that and updated the HTTP Slim. Yeah, Brent from Sparsy and Freak from Sparsy paying us a visit in chat here. So basically, we just want to make it nicer, easier to use. So one of the biggest bits of feedback that I've got is it's not as user friendly as it could be. So we're going to walk through that now, I think. The first thing is let's just drop the 7.4 support. Save that. We're going to do a quick see if we get any issues. Okay, so Symfony HTTP blah, 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 client. So we're getting issues already. So what can I not use? Most of those. So for now, I'm going to fix it the hardcore way of let's just delete stuff. Don't want that anymore. Well, not right now anyway. Add a comment there. We're going to upgrade some of this stuff. So let's get that back ready. Yeah, the light theme is amazing. The dark, I love dark themes, but this just works really, really well. And it makes so much sense clarity-wise. It's the best theme I've used, to be honest. Okay, so what I also need to do is compose a require PHP unit quickly. No, oh, no Steve Slack. She has been leaving snacks on my desk all week. There's becoming a pile down in the corner there. Right, let's run my test, see if anything dies. Yes, we are going to die. Okay, PSR18 client is not found. That is fine. I'm not interested in that right now. Eventually, I'm going to go through and fix all of these tests. But to start with, I think what I would like to do... Evening, Dan. Thanks for joining. What I'd like to do is just take you through the code itself. So ignore the underline things aren't there. And you're eating snacks without me. So this was obviously before some PHP 8 stuff. So the idea was that we passed this client builder in, which would contain the URI, the HTTP client, strategy interface, and the container interface. And all of that would be built and passed into here, allowing us to quickly access a strategy, add some resources, get the URI, work with a factory in the background, and then literally just add resources onto a container which we could then pull out and work with. And it was great. I've really got so many snacks on my desk. Most of them contain peanut butter, weirdly. So what I've been thinking is I like what I did originally and it served a really, really good purpose, but I want to take it further. I want to make the developer experience a focus here. And to do that, I need to remove a lot. You can assist with eating my snacks. I'm sure you can. Right, so we're just going to create a new class. We're going to call this SDK. That's all we're going to use to start with. We've got a PHP SDK, we've got SDK class, in we come. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to remove PHP unit because I'm going to use Pest. So let's go follow the instructions there. Pest PHP. I've zoomed in so people can see it nicely. The scarf, that's not a scarf. That is. I'm trying to get my bearings. This is Taco Cat shirt. This is what I wear to important meetings. It is cats and tacos all on one shirt, and it is quite something to look at. I've got shorts for it as well, which is quite something to look at the same time. Right, so I'm just going to set this up. Yeah, my lovely wife bought me that. It was fantastic. Yes, Pest. We're going to use Pest. I've already started the repository. I wish it would remember stuff like that. Pretty sure I've started the repository. If not, then oops, I'll start it later. Right, so Pest example test, client builder test. So now if I run vendor bin Pest, cool, we're getting much nicer errors, funnily enough. So PSR 18 client, yeah, I don't want that. So SDK, what do we need in that SDK? Yeah, Pest, it's a sign. It's a sign. No music. Oh, okay. Let's see what we can do. What can we do? So I've just switched from using Mac Spotlight to using, is it Raycast? Yeah, Raycast. Right. Let's see if we can swap. Can you hear the music? Well, I've got music playing, but I don't know whether it's being picked up right now. I can't stream earlier. I've got kids. Right. Okay. So let's get on with this. So, what I need to do is in the constructor for this is what we need to do is we need to pass the URI. We want to also pass through the HTTP client, the auth strategy that we're going to use, and I'm going to add the container for now. Laters Gators, cheers buddy, catch you soon Haz. So we want to be passing through all of these things here when we're building it, which is fine. It's what we want to be doing. Can't hear the music. I don't know what's going on with it. Let me oh, what's going on? Something's just not wanting to work, is it? I'll tell you what, sing to yourself and pretend it's me. How about that? That's the best I can do right now, I think. Okay, so our SDK is getting started here. So what we're going to want to do is, much like the client, this is going to be a URI that we pass in. So we can start to get rid of that, and we could say, okay, we have got URI coming in. Then we can have our client, which is our HTTP client there. Then we've got strategy interface for our auth strategy. And then we also want our container. You heard it low. Okay. Let me press play again. See if it come back on. Spotify can start up. There we go. So what we also want, we need to have a dependency on PSR11. So we're going to just composer require the container. Just pull that one. Right. You can hear it. This is what we need. We want to require the container basically. Ooh, with composer.json, hey. Okay, so I've got a few things going on in the package which is making things go a little bit wonky. And to fix that, I am going to, I think I need to fix up that composer file. Okay, example from another package. What other packages have I got? Go to my repositories quickly. Transporter will have some stuff in there. Composer JSON. Scroll down and prefer stable. Right, okay. Stuff, lots of stuff. Let's move that because that I like at the bottom anyway. Grab config and we're going to move that down here too. We're going to say prefer stable is true. And we are going to sort packages and optimize our autoloader. Let's grab that require and let's move that up to where we want it. There we go, up here. Update all of that. Get all of these things back to where they should be. So we've already got that as a dependency. That's a dev dependency, isn't it? Yeah, Pest has got its own container which is killing it there, but that's fine. We'll just keep it at that for now. As long as we can access it. Yep. Ooh. There's our container. So what we're going to have here is a very simple build up these. Instead of using the builder like I did before, we're going to just inject some built things in there. I think. Maybe. So, to make this easier, I'm going to say that. Don't actually. So that HTTP client could also be null at this stage. And I suppose the URI, this is starting to point out to me that I need to change how this is being built up. So what I typically do in these situations is I come over to where can we go? Here we go. Let's create a new PHP file. SDK test. So what I typically like to do here is kind of scaffold out how I'd like to work with it. So let's pretend I'm creating a new version of a Laravel Envoyer. So we want to extend the SDK. Let's not worry about importing things for now. And I want it to follow the same footprint. So we're going to have a public function, static function, illuminate. We're going to accept an API key. I'm going to return a static version of ourselves back. And what we need to do here is just say, okay, so our SDK is basically new static, and we've got that, and then what we want to do is we want to build at this stage and then return our SDK. So that build phase is the important part. So we want to be doing things like our SDK, we want to do things like set the base URL to be something. Then we also want to be doing SDK, maybe adding our resources like that, maybe. Let's come into here, Envoyer. So our constructor, that's doing all of that. So this was super simple to actually build, and it worked. So I think the main thing that's wrong with it is this messiness here. Is when we construct, it just feels not right. So let's pretend we're halfway there. So in our construct, and what we're going to have is within this part we're going to have a URI already. We're going to have our HTTP client. We're going to have our container. And we are going to have our auth strategy. So that's going to annoy me because it's not high order. There we go. So where we go from here is, oh, we can do this quite nicely. By setting all of that, but what we can do is we want to make our SDK, or we want to build our SDK. And for that, we are going to pass in some potential options. So the first thing is we will have a URI. We don't need to worry about the client because we're going to auto build that. We're just going to auto discover. Okay, that's wrong. So let's string URI. Then we're going to have a strategy here. And we'll have null or container here. So these will default to null. And what we want to be doing is saying, okay, so SDK is new static, return SDK, or you can just return new static. So that means we've got to go, so the URI is going to be that argument there will take the URI. So URI client build strategy. So we can either have the current passed in strategy, or we can have a null strategy, which I believe we can just say new null strategy. And container, if we don't pass in a container, I'm just going to compose a require, I'll just use PHPDI because that's a nice one. I'm just going to say new container. Oh, how did we do it before? Here we go. I did an example somewhere. I've done Forge maybe. Oh. So go to PHPDI quickly. So there's a delegate container that you can use. Figuring it, container builder build, lightweight container with other containers. You can build it. Container builder, use auto wiring. Building it, just a simple lightweight one. Using it with other containers. Ah, here we go, search box. Okay, I can't see it, so it's PHPDI. What was that in? I've used so many different containers. Maybe that was PHP League 1. Yeah, it was. It was delegate containers. Container delegate. Nope, you don't need to delegate. So what we can do instead is quite simply pass a new container, which will give us our SDK, and that will, in theory, just pass all of that quite nicely. So first thing, let's just do a test for that, I think. So SDK test. It can build a new instance of our SDK. Something nice and simple there. So what we need to do is we need using the constructor. So to use a constructor, we know we're going to have to build all of these up beforehand. So a URI is going to be URI builder from string api.me.com. Ooh, there we go. So there's a URI. The next thing we're going to need to look at, if we just flip it over here, SDK test, is we're going to need to get a HTTP client. So let's say like client is build. That's going to auto detect any libraries that we've got that are available, which I will simplify and do stuff for in a minute. Required parameters. Okay, so I need to update that underlying one. So what is the latest version? 2.1. So let's look at my URI builder package, make sure we've got the right version pulled in there. That is on 2. And my auth strategies. That is on 1.2. Let's just quickly compose or update all of those, so we can get rid of those errors. There we go. Issues gone. Strategy. Let's do something like, have I got a token strategy? No. Custom strategy, null strategy, and basic. That's all I've created so far. So basic. So what basic strategy will do in the background is okay, I need to upgrade that soon. So a basic strategy, new basic strategy, it takes one argument for the auth string, and that is going to be just, and the container is going to be a new container. So now what we can do is we can say expect, let's expect our a new SDK where the URI is that, where the client is client. There's a strategy, and container is our container. Expect that to be instance of there we go. Will this run? So, client's not found, perfect. So, now we can go through and say, okay, so composer require dev Symfony is it the Symfony HTTP client I'm looking for? I believe so. Yeah, this one. Component. That one. Require dev. We're just going to pull that in. Run it again. See what the next error might be. Okay, so now we are failing. We need a client implementation. The guzzle adapter should be PSR 17 is what we're now missing. So now we can say composer require PSR 7? I believe it is. There we go, PSR 7. Niom's PHR 7. I apologise if I completely butchered that name. And there we go, look, now we're passing. So all we needed to do was provide a HTTP client, which is PSR 18 compliant, which we can hot swap at any point. We can switch over to Guzzle if we want to. And we need something for PSR 17 factories, which is the request factory, response factory, stream factory, that sort of thing. So we've done that in the background, 2 packages, and now our tests are passing. So what I will do is, let's quickly clean this up, because even tests should look nice. You know, you don't want messy, horrible code everywhere in your project. And then let's just grab that container too. There we go. So there's our container. So now we can just delete that. There we go. Nice and clean. So that's how we can build a new instance using the constructor. The next step is can build a new instance of SDK using the static build method. So that's our next bet. Is this part now going to work? So expect to be instance of SDK class. Right, so now we can come here and say SDK build. First thing you're asking us for is the URI. Perfect. That's a string that we need to pass through. So again, like before, we can just pass the exact same string in. The next step, the container. This is nullable, if you remember. And so is the strategy. So what I will do, I'm just going to pass the absolute bare minimum and hope it works. And there we go. Again, simple. So from an integration perspective now, all I've got to do in here is if I'm going to have an auth strategy, I can set it. If not, I'm going to be set one for me. If I want to add a container, I can. If I've got my own particular one. Otherwise, just use the default PHPDI. Either way, it's not going to be too terrible, really. Like, if I need authentication, great, I'll set a strategy. If I don't, I won't. There is the start of our SDK. Ooh, what's going on here? So, currently we can't access anything, that's fine. I'm more than happy with not having setters, getters all over the place right now. So the next step is, if we go back to our our original client, is once we've built it, we're going to be able to access things, but we're going to be able to add a resource. Like, it's got to follow the abstract resource, and we want to be able to set it, etc., etc. So our next step is to recreate that one in a nice way. So public function. We're just going to add. We're not adding a resource. We're literally adding. It's the only thing we can add to this, and that's it. So beforehand, did we allow chaining? Yes, we did. Good. So eventually we'll return this. So within there, we are going to set a string as a name, and then the abstract resource as the resource itself. So that means we can say this container, if we go back to on this one, let's just go to phpdi.org, and we want to add things using the container set. You can use like set, I believe. Let's go to the container interface. That's only got a get and a has. That's not what we want, is it? Maybe we need to be more specific than the container interface. Yeah, we're going to be a bit more specific, I think. I'm going to test it anyway. So we'll try. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh. Okay, so this is how I'm going to find out what it was called. Fox PHP event dispatcher. Ooh, has it gone? PHP Fox container, there we go. This is what I'm after. Okay, let's just install that. There we go. So now we've got this container. We don't want that to be a container interface anymore. We don't want that null setting. We're just going to provide a default container because PSR, it's got a get and a has. There's no setters, there's no default for setting. So I'm just going to drop it, and we're just going to say container. So composer remove PHP di, PHP di. There we go, gone. So now when we say container, got that one. So I can remove that and simplify that one, and we no longer want the container interface really. That is fine. Container or null, or new container if you've already got a pre-built container maybe. There we go, container get instance. So this container, we want to bind the abstract name to this concrete resource basically, and that's it. That's all we want to do. Ooh, okay. How do we want to pass this through? Do we want to say so in the Laravel and Voya one, what we did was would say new something, but maybe we just pass through the name. So we could just say string resource. No, not there. There's a string resource, which is a class name, and it will just auto-resolve that one. That sounds pretty cool to me. That sounds close to what I want. So let's write a quick test for that, shall we? So it can add resources to the SDK. Function. Right, so let's zoom in and let's get some focus on in here. So again, we're just going to quickly SDK build it or something. So it's going to say SDK equals that. We've got an SDK. So to be able to test this, we need an accessor. So we need to have a public function container. Just return this container. So we want to expect, eventually we're going to see container do something, but first off we need to say SDK add we want to add, so the name that we're going to use to access it. Have we got any? I'm going to go resource demo. Just say something like create any stubs in here. Stubs. There we go. And we're just going to say something like create a new interface, and this is going to be resource interface. And then we're also going to create a new PHP class, which is going to be a project resource, like that. And it's going to implement resource interface, and that's all it needs. So all we're going to do is have a, this must have a public function name which returns string. What I'll do is add method, yep. And we're just going to do a very simple PHP class here, return project resource. Super simple, super simple, super clean. So what we're going to add is anytime we are looking for resource interface, we want to basically just this is how we want to do it. That's not what we want to do, is it? We want to say we want the name to be project and the resource to coming back to be the project resource class. So I'm just going to quickly simplify that one. So now we have our SDK back. So we want to say SDK container. If we build the concrete for not build, we want to make the abstract. project. We want to be an instance of the resource. Hey, thanks for coming. I am currently doing lots of stuff. And that. So yeah, we can get that. So we know we can now add something, and that it now exists. We're only running make and doing that to make sure that we can actually access it. So we can add a resource to the SDK. So the next stage is, can we actually, what else can we do? So where's our container? We're going to want to access our URI sometimes. So return this URI. There's like a test to make sure. So it can access the URI builder through the SDK, because that's what we're going to use to like append parts of the path and that sort of thing. So from here we can say, okay, expect SDK URI to be an instance of URI class. That's it. That's all we want to test.
Yep.
You know, the URI package got its own tests for this stuff. So there we go. Next stage is we want to look at accessing the strategy in case we want to hot swap it for any particular reason on a very specific resource. So we can do something like a public function strategy, and we're going to return the strategy interface. So we're going to return that. So again, let's write a test. It's very going to be, you know, these are very kind of simple get set style tests. So these are very much unit level. So we want that to be an instance of this. Well, typing is going to do that, but we know that the default is a null strategy. So we're just going to simplify that and quickly run it. Yep. The type system is making sure that it's a strategy interface coming back. But what we want to do is make sure that the default behavior is indeed working. So that's us getting our strategy back, and the only other thing that we aren't getting back yet is the client. So public function client. I can get the client interface there, and I can just return this client. Glad you're enjoying it. This is it's hard to really explain parts of PSRs. PSRs are never easy to explain. And PSR 18 I found quite difficult to understand at first. So it can access the HTTP client through the SDK. So it took me a while to understand PSR 18, and I had to properly deep dive into how I was going to learn it. There's SDK, and we're expecting our SDK client to be an instance of our HTTP client, which again it should be. Yeah, that's fine. So these are the kind of the constructing style tests going on here. Adding resource again. We can build new instance of the SDK. Yeah, that's fine. It can build using Constructor. That's fine. These are all very unit level tests. So when it comes to feature tests for this, a lot of the feature tests have been done under the hood for the HTTP client already. And so they were actually done and PR'd by Luke Downing, so I know they work because he wrote Pest tests for them, which is great news for me. So the next thing to look at is building requests. So, you know, if I... Why is that complaint? I've got a red line somewhere. Container. Okay. Container. Good job I noticed that, otherwise all the tests would fail. So let's just run test again. Nope. Vendor. Pest. So container builder doesn't exist. Okay, so let's just run them one by one in here. Run. No fails yet. We're looking good. Cool. We'll probably kill some of the old tests soon. So what we're going to have is feature test wise, can we access resources? Yeah, cool, that's kind of all we need to do. So if we go have a look at this a second, the eventual idea is, here's our SDK, we want to be able to pass that to a specific request. But at the same time, we also want to, like this specific request there, we want to do something with, but also we're very used to doing things like SDK projects get. We expect that level behavior. So what we want to be able to do is it can forward calls through to attached resources. So this is where we're just going to be using the container basically. So to do that, we can do exactly what we did here with the get method. So what we're going to do is we're going to build the SDK. We're going to do a quick red-green refactor on this one. So there's our SDK, and we're going to expect our SDK projects. If I just come through to the abstract resource over here, what can we get? Get the load URI. Let's do that URI or something. To be an instance of the URI builder, which I have been using. So this, with any luck, should fail, and it did. So what we need to have the magic get method. So public function get. We've got a string name going on here. It returns mixed, but what I want it to do is it should be returning the resource. So it should be returning an abstract resource. Really? But that means we're gonna have to do some work up here to ensure that this resource is indeed extending that abstract resource. So to do this, we need to basically check if we have got that already. So let's put them next to each other and let's see if we can clean it up a little bit. So this factory doesn't have name, so if this container that contains abstract name, flow new. This is probably like an invalid argument maybe, because I used to use runtime exception all the time because it was easy, but realistically it's not that. So the message we need to pass here is going to be resource name not yet added as an SDK resource. Please use the add method. Done that works. That'll handle that. So then we can say that our resource is this container. We can then make abstract name and return this resource. So what we need to be doing here is what we did last time was set HTTP, set URI, set strategy, and load path. In our abstract resource, we want to accept SDK in the constructor. That is what we're going to do, basically. But before that, let's come back to here and let's see what this does. Okay, so target class projects does not exist because I've not added it. So we want to add name of projects. Resource is going to be project resource for now. And let's run it again. Still failed, so why is it complaining? Not added, please use the add method. So at this stage, let me just composer require dev symphony var dumper. Let's do a quick die and dump on SDK. So what are we getting? We are getting the SDK with the URI stuff, got our HTTP client, which is quite big. We've got the strategy, we've got a container with projects already bound into it. So contains might not be the right one. Has ID maybe? Did you import the class? Yeah, I did import it. Let me do a quick container like has projects. Let's run that. True, it does have it. But resource projects not yet added to it. Oh, wait. Silly me. If it does have it, we were failing. Great. Project resource returned. So great. We're going the right way. We've hit a type error, but that's fine. I expected that. So now I can just kind of delete that, and instead of that, we're just going to extends abstract resource. Yeah. Basically, it was here. That was the issue. So if it doesn't have it, throw the invalid argument. If the container does not contains, I can switch that back to abstract because it looks nicer, and this should now run. Obviously, URI must not be accessed before initialization. It's fine. Then Okay. I needed to fix a few little bits, I think. So, first off, I need to look at fixing this abstract resource. And the first thing we're going to do is public function construct is we are expecting our SDK to be injected. This is how we're doing it from now on. We're also going to have private array with have a default private string load. This is nullable. I have a default, so I can now delete them. URI is on there, so we can have the favorite string path. We want protected, not private, because we are going to be extending. There we go. So there's a path. We're also going to have that. I want this to be passed in there. We will just do null for now, I think. Auth headers now in there. HTTP client strategy, that's all accessible. Be a relations array, we're going to also drop in there. I don't actually think we use that, so I could probably delete that later. Strict relations. We will just drop that there. Then I'll get with get load URI, set URI, HTTP. We're not going to be doing much setting of HTTP, I don't think. I don't really want to be doing set strategy. There's HTTP. Right, perfect. So that's a step in the right direction at least. Anything we can delete yet? No, not yet. Fix some of these. Null or an array. So width is always an array now. That works well for me. There's a width. If we have strict relations, we will come back to the setting of width. Load. Fix that there. Load the identifier. That's either going to be a string or an integer at this stage. I don't really want to cast it to a string, or do we? Yeah, we kind of do, don't we? Because of width. Okay. URI is this SDK URI. Set URI, nope. HTTP, so getting the HTTP client underneath, so SDK client. Strategy, SDK strategy. Sure can be added. Load path. This SDK URI. Add path. Path. This path. There we go. Response interface is, let's get the SDK client, get this SDK URI to string, this strategy, get a header. I suppose I could do this HTTP, that'll be quicker, and then this URI. That would definitely make sense. I'd probably explain why I've got helper functions instead. Okay, this URI, this URI, path, identifier, again, URI, URI, fix some of this up. Let's go to the HTTP client. There's a URI and the strategy. Ooh, lots of stuff going on with this. That is a URI. Data strategy, header, update stuff. So once it's updated, it should be a lot easier to do. Swapping some of this around. Where this URI is cool. So that is all of that now updated. So let's go back to our test quickly and see what happens when I run it. It is not instantiable in the container. So what we can do is when we're adding this, what we need to do is there you go. Hopefully. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so now it's complaining about return type from project, and that's fine, I think. Test hub is an instance of URI project URI. We'll be passing. We can now access the underlying URI component. So that means we can do things like get load strategy. That returns a response interface. I'll stick with URI for now. So the next step for developer experience really is what can I do? What can I do? What we need to do actually is in here, this resource, is we need to work with the reflection API. So we can say that class is new reflection class, and the object or class is going to be resource. And what we need to do is PHP reflection class extends is subclass of. So is subclass of the abstract resource. So if it's not, then what we want to do is throw a new invalid argument exception. The message is going to be cannot add resource. It does not extend the abstract resource class. Something simple and straightforward and explanatory. So now I can run it again. Yep, that works. So what I need a test for that part. It throws an invalid argument exception if a resource does not extend the abstract resource. I like wordy tests. Wordy tests are the best. Right, so now what we can do is we can go, right, SDK, let's go. And now we're going to do something like SDK add, where the name is test and the resource is a new class. Right, this will fail. There we go. So fail for a real reason this time. So resource must be class anonymous given. Okay, so let's just go for something like what classes have we got? We're going to come to stubs and we're just going to create a new class and we're just going to call this dummy class. Because all we need is the dummy class. Run that again. And now it doesn't extend the abstract resource. So this should throws the invalid argument exception class, which means it will now pass. Done. So the other thing that we need to test the unhappy path for as well is getting things from the container for things that have not been registered. So it throws an invalid argument exception if a resource has not been added to the container yet. SDK, do that. And we can just do something like SDK test URI. So this will fail. Excellent. So we can save that. Throws the invalid argument exception. Now we can pass, and there we go. Unhappy path tested. What else do we need to test? Unhappy path tested. Try it. Let's see if I can just clean this up for the sake of sanity. Yeah, that's cleaner. That's all fine, and that's all the unhappy paths tested. So now we can start actually accessing things. So to perform a quick test, we're going to say it can get data from an API. And this is where we're actually just going to get data from the API instead. So let's create the SDK. Like that. And then we're going to say SDK add, but to do this is JSON servers for JSON type of code, JSON placeholder, and what we're going to want is there is our URI. And what we're going to add is something like I don't know, to-dos. So I'm going to create a to-do resource. In here, perhaps PHP class to-do resource extends abstract resource. So there is that. Can I override this, I wonder? Can I add this? The name is to-dos and the resource import that on. Let's run it and see what happens when I run it. Nothing yet, that's good. So the response is SDK to-dos get yeah, that's not needed. Let's run it and see what happens. So I dump on the response, pass error. That's a start. Response, get body, get the contents. Something's failing, which is fine. I think we can do things like go to the abstract resource. You can do things like this HTTP get. There's an auth header. You don't need any auth headers. Yeah, that should be fine. You just need to, the way we're building it. So build the SDK. And we go SDK client. Client. We've got the default headers already set. Application JSON and content type. Any plugins. So that if we ask for the client, we should then be able to come through and do things like get client, do things with it. Sure. That's working. That's all I know. So I should now just quickly write a test for this, and we'll have a look at playing with it. So we will expect this to be an instance of the response interface class, which should pass, and it does. So next stage is when our resource through the abstract resource is doing things like get and that sort of thing. We're literally just returning that. But what we want to be doing next is we want to look to turn this into our own custom response. Because while getting PSR response is great, it's not very helpful. Because what we ideally want to be doing is doing things like get this, do that, check this, and away we go. Hour 26. Can I do it in time? What other tests did I have that I might have to replicate first? Have a look at our tests. The client builder test, that can definitely go because we're not going to use a client builder anymore, which means I can delete that. So the client test, we can create a client. If there's an exception if URI is not a URI, yep, cool. Definitely not a URI, that's been tested by the package. Allows you to access and use the URI, yep. Package is tested and I know I can access it. You can access a HTTP client, yep, I already know I can. Access a container, yep, can do that. Can register a resource. Forward calls to a resource. Runtime exception if it's not registered. And it can perform a request. Maybe we could do things like this, I suppose, and perform multiple, but I don't think it's going to do anything. It will append extra parts to the path. There's client, add resource, relations test, with test. So we're not really testing that properly, are we? It'll obviously pass through an auth strategy. Yeah, already know it does. So runtime is resources not in strict mode and relation is not listed. Okay, so abstract resource. Is there anything? There must be something on here we haven't tested. Runtime exception. So what we could do is create a new PHP class here, and we'll call this relation resource, and we're extending the abstract resource. Add that. Protected null string path is relation. Relations. How did I test it on this one? So strict relations is true and relations test. Let's do that. There we go. Exactly the same thing. But we're going to add a null string. So then what we do is user load user with something that doesn't exist. that. Basically, we're going to do something similar to this. So it shows if a resource in strict mode gets past a relation that is not registered. The idea for this part is that you can be really specific about the relation naming that you use. So let me just grab this. So I can say that I only want to accept on relation, for example. Relation with user load, the identifier. So with, just say what we're loading with. Gonna load. But there's the identifier. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the identifier here is that. So let's just run it and see what happens. Oh, apparently it passes. So when we're loading with relation resource, relation is true. If this is in strict relations, what we're going to do is yup it there. It's not even hidden that bit. Are we even hitting this? We should be hitting it. Yeah, we are getting it. Let's just quickly do a die and dump on the strict relations part. Run false. Strict relations is set to true there, so up here. I guess it's not overriding it, is it? Ooh, okay, so let's just die and dump on this. That might be pointing to a bigger problem. There's a placeholder. There's the SDK. Path is currently set to null. Path is set there. Okay. The abstract resource. That stuff. We don't want to auto load in there. We want it up here. So it can be overridden nicely. So now let's test it one last time. Aha, can't sideload user. Right, it's throwing a runtime exception though. So our abstract resource here is going to be invalid argument exception, where the message is cannot sideload resource as it has not been registered as an available resource. Okay, cannot sideload relation has it not been registered as an available relation on this resource. There we go. Naming works better too. So excellent. So now we can just do something like throws invalid argument exception and run it one more time. We now pass. Excellent. So there's that one. Any others that could potentially fail? That's not been passed through. No, nothing that could fail. Throws. Delete. Oh, that's coming from the client itself, which has been tested. The where. Oh, that's it. That's tested as the other one, I believe. Oh, wait. Yeah. It's tested as the other one. So now I can go through and I can example test, delete, client test, get rid of that client. Let's say we rebuild this. So maybe we had a look at it and we came into CD examples and we just did a PHP on Forge. That now dies. So Forge needs to extend SDK instead. So we don't need that. Forge extends SDK. Don't need any of that. Grab that. The parent construct. URI is that part. Container is we can do something like a new custom strategy where the auth string is API key. Let's do that. So that's all of that. So now we can just quickly sort these arguments. That now fixes it. Fix that back up. Illuminate. Add. And we can say that the name is servers. And the source is server class. There's that class finished. Make sure this is all good. This is going to be null string. All looking good. That's all the resources. Example client. Not interested. Forge. Perfect. So then our client over here is delete those. Delete the client builder. We don't need that. Container stuff. Don't need. Building our HTTP client we no longer need. Strategy we want. Client builder we don't. Building our SDK is a new SDK where the URI is going to be URI from string HTTPS api.acme.com, and our client is HTTP client build because we're using auto discovery. Strategy we can just set to the strategy. Our container we can just say container get instance done. That can now be disappeared, and we can add a new resource, and as long as that works, that is also working. So PHP client, add where the name is that, the resource is this, and we're just going to say something like the class. Come resolve host 4. Okay, so that's just, yeah, cool, excellent. We're getting somewhere. All of that's working. So there's our examples. There's our demo. So now we can come back to here. Vendor bin pest. Let's look at the coverage. Ooh, abstract resource. We've only got 20% coverage. So let's close that down. What are we missing on the resource from a coverage perspective? So line 37, we got nothing. Getting the width. Oh, a getter. Ooh. Okay, so I've been going for an hour and 14 minutes. Do I want to go through all of that? 56 to 70 something, so getting the load. Oh. Yeah, that looks like mainly getters. 134. Find the okay, building up the identifier basically and finding it. I'm not ready to release it, I don't think, so I might have to pick this up next time and go through a deep dive on some of the testing. Maybe I'll get someone to join me, so if you're watching and you want to join in with some testing, now's your opportunity for next time. But for now, I'm just going to push this up as is after I have fixed this. Pest. No longer 7.4, so we don't need the matrix PHP. Well, we'll keep it in case we decide to test 8.1 soon. I don't think you can even test 8.1 on there yet. Got the Linux test and the Windows test, so the Pest, and let's just make sure we're also doing Pest there too. There's our tests. I'm going to delete the CS fixer because I don't use it anymore. So that means I can delete that, delete that, delete that, come back to here, and come down to scripts, test, pest. There we go. There's our demo, there's our tests, PHP SDK, all of that's looking good. All of that is looking good. PSR 18. What we're going to call it is a simple to use framework for building your SDKs in PHP. There we go. Just going to quickly git commit. What I do is I need to get the link. So let's go to YouTube quickly. I apologise if there's an echo in the background. Can I? No, I can't. Don't want to add to queue. Pause myself. Share this. Copy. Here we go. We got there. We got there. Refactoring stream. I was going to push that one up. So now, if we come over to SDK over here, we should receive GitHub action. Refactoring. See, code styling was failing. Last test we're passing. Let's wait for those to finish, and that should be as good. If you fancy having a look at the repo, or want to submit a PR, or want to just have a play or use it, here is the repo. I'm going to show that on screen now. Here we go. Just going to add this. Here we go. Feel free to download it, give it a go. Let me know your thoughts. Add issues. Okay, so we start to pass tests. What I want to do, how do you do discussions? Features, discussions, set up discussions. Yeah. Ta-da. The maintainers have some tips. Let's just delete that too. So that's not useful. So start discussion. There we go. So we've now got discussions available, so people can join in and we can have a chat, and away they go. That looks pretty bright and in your face, huh? Actions. So we're now passing. We are looking good. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new pull request, and I'm going to compare this and create a pull request, create a draft pull request. So here we go. It's a work in progress. I'm going to run the checks, and away we go. And this is this. Working on it. There we go. Talking to myself. And there we go. Anyone got any questions? Reach out to me on Twitter. I won't be streaming this Thursday because it's my birthday, so I want to spend it with my family. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe, like, so I know what you actually like. Hit me up on Twitter. Other than that, thanks for turning up. Thanks for joining in, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Good night.